finish you. Big boss, big boss, big boss, big, big boss, big boss, big boss, but big.
Pray for, release me, enlarge my territory. What's up, you guys? You are now tuned into the Big Boss Experience. And today's video, as you already know about the topic or about the title, we are going to be talking about how I started my clothing brand called the Big Boss Experience. And maybe I can teach you how to start yours. So if you see me looking down, it's because I have notes here. But if you haven't already, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And comment what type of videos you all want to see from me. And comment if this is the type of videos that you like, or do you like the vlog style videos. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first step that you would take is understanding what message you are trying to get across. The reason why I say this would be the first step, other than thinking of a name, is because if you so happen wanting to change your name because it doesn't match up with your brand story, which I did, it's going to be hard for people to transition into your new name and to calling you by your new name instead of your old name. For an example, I first started off as a clothing boutique and it was Bodied by Keeks. However, the name didn't match up with what I wanted my brand story to be about. So I had to change it into the Big Boss Experience, and it was a little hard trying to get people to call me by that instead of the Bodied by Keeks boutique. So branding, messaging is top priority, only because you don't want to go through that trouble of figuring out or changing the name and figuring out how to match up the name with your brand story. So that would be the first step. After that, the following step would be to think of a name. Once you have, it took me, I would say, about 6 months to finalize my name. Only because I was unclear of my messaging of what I wanted it to be about, and also because I just was being so indecisive and I wanted it to be catchy. So the second step after following the brand message would be to think of a name. And through this process, once you find your name, it goes following up. This is kind of a 2-in-1 step. Because after you think of your name, you want to go ahead and register it with whatever state that you're in. So after you register your name, you want to think of what type of business you want. So if you want an LLC, a sole proprietorship, an S corp, and then, or just do it under like a DBA, you'll think of that. I have a sole proprietorship, so a lot of people like get an LLC. If you get an LLC, you don't have a business, and that's not true whatsoever. What is different between an LLC and a sole proprietorship is that if someone sues you, they're suing your business. If someone sues you as a sole proprietorship, they're suing you and your business, which what attached to it. I would do some research on it because I'm not a legal advisor. So that's just a little bit information that I know about the difference between sole proprietorship and S corp, and I know nothing about an S corp, so sorry. So you want to register your name with your state. You want to figure out what type of business you want. Again, I'm a sole proprietorship. You want to get a reseller's permit with your state as well, and your EIN. An EIN number is kind of like a social security number for your business. So I would advise, without putting these legal steps in order, I would not start selling anything. Why? Because you don't want to mess with the IRS, and you can get fined for selling things that you have not yet to register for. So figure out your name and do your legal paperwork. Do research on your legal paperwork. Do research on your legal paperwork, and get a YouTube would be your best friend. Honestly, I didn't have a lawyer for this. I understood what YouTube was telling me to do, so I went ahead and did it the YouTube way. So the third step is, there's 3 bullet points within this one step, is figuring out how you're going to fulfill the design. So it's actually coming up with the design that you want on your clothes. It's looking for vendors that you want to purchase your clothes from. And then it's also, figuring out how you want to fulfill your design. So there's 2 type of fulfillments that you can do. So there's in-house, and then there's print on demand. I'll start with print on demand. So print on demand is basically you find a company like Printful, Printify, and there's like others out there that you sending your design to, and they send it over to your customer. Or they can send it to you. You can go in and place the order, and then they can send it to you. And that way you can customize your packaging and be more on hands with your business than it coming straight from the vendor or straight from the print people to your customer. Or you can do in-house. I do in-house. So there's kind of 2 ways with in-house. So I create my own design. I have a Cricut machine, and then I borrow a heat press until I can actually get one. We're transparent on this channel. So, but until I can get a heat press, if you don't have a heat press, you can use your iron. All it takes is heat. So you can use your iron and get an ironing board or iron on a hard surface. If you're using vinyl, you can use an inkjet, which is kind of like vinyl, but you print it through an inkjet printer, which is a regular printer, and then you just use a heat press or iron, anything that can put heat on clothes. You can use that, and it'll stick on to your shirt. So this right here is vinyl, and it's not coming off. I washed this shirt about 3 times. I wore it a lot. So that's in-house, and then you can do the print on demand as well. You can still do print on demand and ship out in-house, because you can have it shipped to you, and you can customize your packages. I think I said this already. You can customize your package and have it shipped to your customer from your location that you're shipping from. So those are the steps. So creating a design, figuring out how you're going to fulfill the design. If you're going to do it in-house or print on demand, I do in-house. I create my own design up until I'm too busy to where I don't have time to create it in-house. Then I'll outsource to print on demand, but still have it shipped to me. So that is step number 3, figuring out how you're going to fulfill your design. Okay, the 4th step is, once you figure out your messaging, once you figure out the name and registering your name and doing all the legal paperwork behind it, and once you figure out how you're going to design it and how you're going to fulfill the design, now it's time to start promoting. A lot of people wait until they get their products to promote, which is what I did, which is why I can say not a good idea. The only reason why I say it's not a good idea is because you want people to know that you have a business. Like, you don't want to launch to a cold audience, which is what I did. I had no idea. Started my business, I just was like, oh, I'm gonna buy these clothes and I'm gonna sell them and they're gonna sell out. Yeah, no, it was crickets on launch day, and that's because I did not have a launch strategy, and I did not do well in marketing my clothing before I actually got the clothing. So start promoting your business on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever social media platform that you have. Start promoting. Even if you don't have the products, I can do, if you want, I can do another video on a pre-launch strategy and how to start promoting without the product, which there's a lot of ways that I've learned and find out. So start promoting now. Don't wait until you actually have the product. The product should just be sprinkles on top of a cake, but your brand messaging should resonate with your audience before the product. So the product is just, again, the sprinkle on the cake, and it should sell itself. But your messaging and your content and your consistency is what's going to actually sell the product. So that is the 4th step. So now let's move on to the next step. So the last major step that I will give is, by the way, all of these are not broken down into detailed. So I just gave the first 5 steps that I feel like will start off as a beginner. So the last step would be to start pricing your items and getting shipping supplies. So if you want, if you want, I can do supplies you would need in starting your clothing brand. I can do that type of video as well. So what I mean by start pricing your item is to look at your pricing margin. Your pricing margin is how much you paid for the item, including how much it's going to cost for you to shipping, including your shipping supplies, how much it costs. Like if you purchased an item for $5, and shipping costs you $3, that's now $8. And then you have a poly mailer that costs you $10 or 10 cents, I'm sorry, 10 cents, and then your business cards and all of that, etc., needs to be included into your price margin. That way you can correctly price up your product to make a profit out of it and to have room for sales and for discounts if you're offering discounts. You don't want to price it too low because then you don't want to price it to where you either break even. It's better to break even than to not break even at all and lose money. So always price it high enough to where you can make a profit from it, and then also to where you can have room to discount. And here's another thing too. When you price your items, do not let the price that you set for your items discourage you. And don't let people tell you how to price your items as well. So, little quick story. When I first started my clothing brand, or just when I first started my business period, starting off as a boutique, I would look at my competition and I would look to see how they price their items. And so some of theirs would be inexpensive and some of theirs would be expensive. So I would price it to where I felt like, well, if mine is cheaper, then people will come to me to shop. Literally, no. So one day I was at a pop-up shop and I had on like this really cute silk dress. It was a black dress and I sold that dress. And one of my customers came up to me and was like, how much is this dress? And then so she was like, oh, I see it right here. It's on the tag. So the dress was $18. She said, $18? She said, girl, you need to go up on your prices. And that right there immediately told me that just because it's cheap does not mean that people will buy it. Cheap stuff scare people away as well. So price your items to what you feel would be reasonable for it, based off the quality, based off how much it took you to actually complete the item, whether you're making it or you're doing print on demand, and including that your margin and shipping and all of that, and your time and effort just for having the item and having it sit. Include all of that into your price, and do not let people scare you away because they feel like your stuff is too expensive. That's fine. Just come back when you have the money. But I'm not changing my prices because you don't ask Louis Vuitton to change their prices. You don't ask all these other name brand companies to change their prices. So again, that goes into price it to how you feel, and don't let nobody discourage you on your prices being too expensive, but don't cheat yourself by making your prices cheap, because cheap does not always mean good quality. Cheap things can scare people away as well. So final step, price your products. So we're going to go into all the steps. So just going back over all of the steps to start your clothing brand, or how I started my clothing brand. The first step is to have brand messaging. Nowadays, another thing I meant to include in the first step is nowadays people buy your story and could care less about your product. So if your story is strong and your product is just an add-on, then that's great. But if your product is okay, because nowadays clothes are not essential. People don't need custom clothing. So with that being said, they have the needs and they want. Make people want your clothing. Make people want your products, and they want that because of the person behind the brand and the story behind the brand as well. So going over the steps. So first step is to come up with a brand messaging. What story, what are you trying to get across to your target audience? Thinking of a name. Once you have that name, register your name with your steps and figuring out what type of business that you want your business to become, whether that's an LLC, sole proprietorship, or S corp. And then also getting your reseller's permit and getting your EIN number. The third step is to figure out how you're going to fulfill your products, whether that's you're going to be in-house or do it print on demand. Again, the difference is in-house is you ship from inside of your house and you have somebody else fulfill it, or you create the design yourself and you fulfill it yourself. And then print on demand is having somebody else fulfill it and ship it out to your customer. And the last and final step, step 4 is promoting your business before you actually get the product. Let people know that you have a business and what's coming. Get them hyped about the product and get them hyped about why they should shop with you. And last and final step is price your items and start getting your shipping supplies and everything you need and want in your business to fulfill the order. And now it's time to start selling. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment down below saying I enjoyed it, thank you for good tips, or whatever you want to say. And again, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out and follow me on social media at the Big Boss Experience _ on Facebook and Instagram, and also TikTok as well. And here on YouTube, subscribe. And yeah, that is all, you guys. And I thank you for tuning in.
Unsure.